Come on, 2, 3.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, April 21st, 2022. And our top story today, why you shouldn't be sharing those streaming passwords. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Colette Bennett is a journalist with The Street. Colette, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And we're going to start off the show talking about streaming. You cover technology, you cover gaming. Let's talk about why you should not be sharing your streaming passwords with people. Why? You know, everyone's doing it, right? I mean, to Netflix's detriment, people are sharing their passwords, but why shouldn't you?
Well, and not just Netflix either, password sharing across all kinds of streaming networks, sure. And I think that because streaming has become as big as it has, when it was, I don't want to say smaller, relatively, it's still not small, but smaller, I don't think companies were as worried about password sharing. Netflix has said in the past that it wasn't a big deal to them several years ago. They knew people were doing it. When you log into Netflix, you have different, you can log in as different people. They knew, right? But I think at this point, part of the reason why cracking down on password sharing is happening is because the streaming war, I guess you would call it, is so much fiercer than it's ever been before. And I think Netflix's, earnings report is like a perfect way to kind of look and go, wow, even one of the giants that set the standard for streaming is now suffering because so many people have taken its model and followed it for their own streaming businesses. I think, the cracking down on password sharing is, I think, a part of Netflix going, ooh, we're in trouble. Like, we need to think of some other ways to, function. And one of them is, hey, we really need those people that are sharing passwords to go get their own accounts.
Yeah, I mean, it's only $9.99, which I guess is a lot of money for some, and it's to their detriment not to have more subscribers. But it could be a law of diminishing returns. I mean, maybe they have everybody here in the West using Netflix. Let me ask you from a consumer perspective, because many consumers use the same login credentials across streaming services, but
Yeah,
you really don't know. If I lend you, Colette, I trust you, Colette, but if I lend you my password and login credentials, you could share it with somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lack of security. I mean, I think most people are probably sharing it with like another family member or something. But, then you have, your person who's like, hey, you can just log into my whatever account anytime. And yeah, I do think that also poses a security threat that maybe people are not thinking about when they're sharing it. So that's another reason outside of Netflix's purposes to consider not sharing your information.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget that as part of the relationship with the streaming provider, you have credit card information, you may have your address, your name, first, middle, last. All these things are important for someone, say you lend your password to someone who's not on a secure network. Say they're at the Starbucks watching a little Inventing Anna on Netflix, right? Someone else can kind of swoop in, pull in that information, and next thing you know, you get a charge for something else on your credit card.
Yeah, I think it's tough, right? Because it's like the more we, engage in like a digital forward world, I think that it has so many perks. It has so many great things. You don't have to get off your couch. Like just yesterday, I wrote a story and I was like, believe it or not, we went to Blockbuster 25 years ago to go rent the movie of the weekend, so there's so many great things, but yeah, I think the flip side is that our information is less safe than ever, and we have to be more stringent about protecting it.
When you look at privacy, Colette, and we're going to talk about gaming, and I think privacy applies in gaming as well because there's login credentials, et cetera. We'll get to that in a second, that evolution. But what are some of the things other than not sharing passwords? I mean, are people Do you think that consumers are now aware that their privacy is at risk, their credit card information and financial information could be at risk? Do you think consumers generally are aware? And if not, what do we need to do to make them more aware?
I think they are aware. And I think the issue at hand is that a lot of them don't care. A lot of them are like, oh, I have a phone that tracks everywhere I go, or I don't have anything to hide. That's another one that I've heard a lot, oh, I don't have anything to hide, it's just but I think that is really, I don't know.
Naive.
I think
it's naive.
Yeah, I do think it is a little bit of that. And, I think another thing, right, is like password fatigue, like people being like, oh, I don't want to have 20 million different passwords for all these different things. Yes, we all do probably have hundreds of passwords at this point in our lives digitally. But I mean, it's probably, for the best, there's plenty of programs that can help you manage that more easily. But yeah, for the most part, I think there's a lot of people that I think just kind of don't want to adjust to how I hate to say it this way, dangerous it can be to exist and live a life, a large part of life online. I just think that you might consider how to protect yourself out in the real world. You should probably also be considering how to protect yourself in the digital world.
Yeah, especially for parents with children who are young. People are putting a lot of information out. And again, going to what your password is, the more people know about you, the more they can probably figure out passwords and scam services like scam you, but also scam others in order to get your information. Last question for this segment. I mean, we've seen a lot of states move forward with privacy laws. The federal government now looking to get involved and strengthen cybersecurity both at the state, local, and government level. Is this going to be helpful, or do we need to remain vigilant as consumers, as individuals as well?
I think it's both. I think that it will definitely be helpful, and as that digital climate continues to evolve and, we will have to evolve with it. But, I think that being personally stringent is really important. It's difficult for some, but, your passwords really should be long and have letters, numbers, and symbols in them. They should not be repeated across different websites. And the easiest way to do that is honestly just to use some sort of password manager. But you really just have to be, considerate of where you're putting your information. So hopefully people will, prioritize that because, I tell you what, if you really want to, be motivated to prioritize it, if someone steals your identity or steals your information, you'll be a lot more motivated then.
Absolutely.
So why not do it before that happens,
Yeah, you got to be vigilant. And you talk to even the smartest people, Colette, I read about it all the time. They have been hacked. They have been scammed. They have given up information that they did not intend to. So if it happened to them, it can happen to you. And that's not saying that the viewer isn't smart too. It's about being vigilant. Yeah, Colette, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the evolution of gaming. And let me tell you, a lot has changed since I played the Atari 2600. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Colette Bennett of The Street. Colette, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so we're going to shift gears from streaming to the evolution of gaming. And look, Colette, I have to confess, I grew up with the Atari 2600. That was almost 50 years ago, or 40 plus years ago, and I loved my Atari. But the gaming world has really progressed, even in the last 5 to 10 years, with professional gamers. How are you seeing the gaming industry evolve?
Well, believe it or not, the Atari was also my first console, so I have a fairly similar memory on that. Although I grew up with the Nintendo Entertainment System as like my big favorite. Yep. But it has changed a great deal. I would say that growing up for me, gaming was more thought of as a hobby for children or for young adults, but it was something you were supposed to grow out of as you grew older. So when I didn't, I think that it was an interesting experience to go around. But in the climate today, obviously, people are not just gaming on video game consoles anymore. They're gaming on phones. They're gaming, in all these different ways. Some people are gaming on Facebook, and like all of that is a form of video games. So that is why the industry is worth billions at this point and continues to just grow like crazy. And then, of course, as you mentioned, esports has now become a competitive video game centric sport, I guess it's in the name, that is also like making people, and it's so, I was going to say making people all this money, but what's so funny to me is that a lot of us, right, my age, we grew up with parents that were like, well, you can't play video games for a living. And it's like, now you can.
Yeah, I was going to say you can now, because these kids, and I think a lot of them are kids, but they may be older, 30s, 40s.
Sometimes
they are earning hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, winning these they're in huge arenas, Colette. They're playing in front of their peers. They're playing online in front of millions and millions of people. Heck, some of the biggest videos on YouTube now are Twitch captures of streaming games. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That's right. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. And I mean, that's another, Twitch is another topic altogether, right? Which is Amazon owned, as I'm sure you know, but a lot of those same esports competitors have their own Twitch channels, which then bring in revenue for them based on subscribers. So that's like another source of revenue for someone who might also be doing esports for a living. It's a wild landscape. I never could have dreamed that it would become like this when I got into gaming, some 40 odd years ago. But it's exciting to me, because I think that we are also starting to see games move in a direction where they are not only entertainment, but they are also being used for healing purposes. VR especially is something that is like being tested and used in a lot of like medical facilities and, for people who are like paralyzed or perhaps can't experience certain things. And that's exciting for me to see gaming kind of transcend that level of just, fun entertainment and go to a level where people are actually experiencing healing from it.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. I mean, and just to echo when it went from more than one or two buttons to like these 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons, you totally lost me. I can't make decisions that fast, and I don't ever read the instruction books. My wife will tell you that on anything. I just make it up as I go. But let's talk about the therapeutic basis of these games. You mentioned healthcare, wellness, mental health support, really important. And that virtual world, that metaverse, for lack of a better saying, really is how people, maybe you're disabled, you don't have legs, you can walk around in the metaverse.
Correct. So yeah, I would say probably this was pre VR getting to where it is today, being so accessible. But about 10 years ago now, I was working for CNN at the time, and I did a piece for them about what I thought of as compassionate gaming, or like gentle gaming. And what that was video games. There's one at the time that I wrote about by a company called That Game Company, and the title was Journey, and it won dozens and dozens of awards. In that game, you played a robed figure who moved through a series of deserts, but there were never any fights. There were never any conflicts. Basically, you were just having an experience. And the game itself was really interesting in that it kind of it has you pursuing a light at a mountain that's like far in the distance. And the game is kind of an allegory for like the cycle of birth to life to death. And you're like, whoa, in video games? But yeah, like definitely. And I think from there, people started finding in games, not just to hop in and, boom, boom, and shoot everything, but also finding games where they like to do things like gardening. You may have heard of games like Stardew Valley, which was made by one guy and he's like a freaking millionaire now because of that, like whole evolution of people who just wanted to go in games and garden. So I think it's been healing in a lot of emotional, mental kind of ways for a while. Those options have been there. But then, moving into the medical field, this is where VR really plays a big role, of course. I think that we are in not the infancy of, but maybe like the second infancy of VR right now. Facebook has helped to make it accessible by selling what was once the Oculus Quest and is now called the Meta Quest. I think it's like a $299 price point. So really anyone can pick that up. And have an experience that completely takes them out of the real world and puts them, you can, for instance, I play a fitness game on my own Meta Quest called Supernatural, which is terrific. And in 2020, it had just debuted a few months before the pandemic. I was working from home with no way to really go to the gym safely or, work out. So I put my, my headset on and I worked out in Supernatural, and the workouts are in, beautiful foreign locales, so I could, work out on the Great Wall of China. I mean, that is like, and I will say that I feel like when, the world outside was kind of on fire, so to speak, that was a really good therapeutic thing for me to experience. And I'm sure other people did too. I know that Facebook sales of the Meta Quest went way up in 2020. So I think those are some of, now I can't speak to the medical side as far as like what is the absolute newest thing. The last couple of things that I've heard about have definitely been allowing people to see and hear that have vision problems or audio problems, hearing problems, to allow them to have experiences that they might not be able to have, if they can't leave a hospital bed or something like that. But I think we'll continue to see more and more of gaming use for therapeutic and health purposes, especially in the next decade.
Yeah, and these phones, devices get stronger and stronger, faster CPUs, faster GPUs, and it's absolutely amazing. So it's good to see the practical applications helping people as well as relieving some stress. Well, yeah. Colette, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
I'll be back. Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to see our latest content? Search our archives. Well, check out our website. That's www.broadcastretirementnetwork.com. And our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung. There's over 100 more. You can't miss it. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.